Apple already kicked off the M6 era, and it's kind of already a mess in terms of the timeline and what Mac is going to actually be getting an M6 and what Macs are just going to skip it altogether. So let's go ahead and walk through the whole M6 timeline. But let's first start with where things stand today. Apple's current lineup runs on the M5 family until Apple just recently launched the M6, which is the new entry-level chip in the series. That is obviously going to debut in the new M6 Mac Mini. That model can be configured with an M6 or with an M5 Pro from earlier this year, and the M6 itself is a real step up on paper. It moves to a 12-core CPU and a 12-core GPU, up from 10 and 10 on the M5, and it introduces the first ever dual neural engine with two 16-core engines instead of just one. Now that last part's important because it tells you where Apple's head is at right now, which is squarely on AI performance. So is everybody. From there, the next wave is expected in October. Reports point to a refreshed base model MacBook Pro, the 14-inch entry-level version, powered by the M6. It has been tested internally on macOS 27.1, which is the update Apple is scheduled to ship to everyone at the end of October. So the timing kind of lines up perfectly there. One thing to brace for is the price. The entry-level MacBook Pro already climbed up to $2,000 back in June because of ongoing memory shortages, and reports suggest that a higher price is simply the new normal rather than a temporary bump. So we could see that maybe at $2,100 to debut, but hopefully not, but who knows. October is also when the iMac is expected to get its turn. Rumors say Apple is prepping an updated 24-inch iMac with the M6 chip and a fresh set of colors, replacing the M4 model that debuted back in 2024. Don't expect a redesign, the story is simply just chip and new colors, but going from M4 straight to M6 should be a big enough jump that it should still feel like a pretty decent upgrade for anyone holding on to a well older iMac, maybe M1, M2. So that is the M6 rollout in a nutshell. Mac Mini first, then the entry-level MacBook Pro, and then the iMac in October, with more Macs expected to pick up the chip as we roll into 2027. Seems simple enough, right? Except here's where it starts to get weird, because the more interesting story might be what is not getting an M6. According to Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, Apple is skipping the M6 Pro and the M6 Max entirely. There is no higher-end version of this chip coming. Instead, Apple is planning to leapfrog straight into an AI-focused M7 generation for its top-tier processors, with the M7 Pro and M7 Max expected in 2027. In other words, the M6 exists only as a base-level chip. If you want Pro or Max power, the next real jump is a full generation away. That decision creates some strange situations in the lineup. Take the new high-end Apple laptop that's reportedly launching this fall, the MacBook Ultra, which is positioned again at the very high end of the range. You would assume the flagship gets the newest silicon, so M6 Pro and M6 Max. But that's probably not the case, as reports say it's going to turn in an M5 Pro and M5 Max version, not anything with M6, and obviously not anything with M7 yet. The existing high-end 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro models already have those chips, and those aren't going to get updated to an M6. Those will just jump to M7 later in 2027. And that's the weird part, because the chip kind of signals which is the highest end in the lineup, but now we're just kind of in a mess. Bigger number meant newer and faster, but that's no longer true. A brand new M6 MacBook Pro is a newer generation than the M5 Max machine, but it's also slower and cheaper because it is the base level chip and the M5 Max is more of a higher end one. So going forward, you cannot just look at the generation and the number, but if you're doing that already, then you're probably not in the market for an M5 Pro and M5 Max anyways. But yeah, to put it all together, the M6 is here. It's starting in the Mac Mini and the MacBook Pro and the iMac. Those are expected later in October. You'll probably get a MacBook Air with it, a couple of other entry-level ones. But if you're looking at the MacBook Ultra that's later this year, rumored for, you're going to get an M5 Pro and an M5 Max chip in that, and then it's going to jump right into an M7 later in 2027. That's where the M6 kind of stands today. It's existing only in base models, and it's going to have a pretty short runtime. It's just not going to really be around for that long, and then we're going to jump straight into M7 for other machines. So would love to hear from you in the comments down below. How do you feel about the M6 Mac Mini? Are you thinking about buying one? Are you thinking about waiting for a different form factor, perhaps an iMac or a MacBook Air or the entry-level MacBook Pro that it's rumored to come in first? Would love to hear from you in those comments down below. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you around in the next video.